YouTube! I'm Dave, and this is Upon a Star Travel, and I am here with some good friends of mine, and we're going to be talking about Disney. Let me introduce the panel first of all. And you can't see what I see, guys, but right below me is Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Dave. Hey, guys.
First, where are you coming from? Where are you broadcasting from, so people will know where you are?
So I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
Born and bred, and that's where I am today.
Very cool. Well, now that I think Val switched things up, now she's below me on the screen. Val, how are you?
I'm great. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and excited to be here.
Fun times. And over to my my left, that'd be your right, whatever. Hi, Kyla.
Good morning.
And where are you coming from?
I am on the coast of New Hampshire in a cute little town called Portsmouth.
Okay, so is New Hampshire the one that makes the V, or is that the one that makes the upside down? I mean, which Vermont and New Hampshire? I can't remember which one's which. One is kind of big on top, and one's big on the bottom, and it's like I don't know.
We're big on the top.
One's a Dolly Parton, and one's a Kardashian, and I can't really tell them. I can't remember which one is which. I just can't. But anyway,
we're the ones with the coastline. Our little miles of coastline.
Perfect. That's awesome. So thanks first of all on YouTube out there for joining us. Thanks for watching. We're going to talk a little bit about Disney cruising, land and sea. Ultimately, we'll talk about why we think you should go on a land and sea package, pairing your land trip to Disney World with a sea trip on the Disney cruise. But we'll get to all that in a few minutes. But first, we're going to talk a little Disney. And the question I have for you guys, and well, let me go ahead and say that I'm Dave, and I'm calling from Birmingham, Alabama, here in Central Time Zone. I'm about 5 hours away from Val. I'm about 5 hours away from Nikki, and about 12 hours away from Kyla. But through the magic of YouTube and Zoom, here we are. My first question is really, why are we talking about Disney? I'm going to go to you first, Val. What is it about Disney, not just the cruise, not just the parks, but why are you on here wanting to talk about Disney? Why do you want people to experience Disney? Tell us, Disney, why?
So our family loves to travel, period. Like, that is just when we disconnect from life and crazy, and we make memories together. We put away the phones as much as possible. We camp a lot as well as Disney. But what I really love about Disney is that you can really just leave it all behind. It's happy. I have a 10-year-old, 11. I keep calling him 10. He's 11 now. To me, he'll always be 5. So, but he's 11 now. And he has Down syndrome, and he loves everything Disney. I mean, it is so magic to him. He watches it all the time. He can act out all the movies. And then when we get there and we actually start seeing these characters in person, the parades, all of it, I mean, it is just huge magic for him. And then even his older brother, who is 14, who still loves Disney himself, I love to watch him get excited about seeing his brother get excited. Like, he's willing to see the princesses just because Zach wants to see the princesses, and so it's just a really fun time. It's something we all enjoy as a family. There's things that we do that some of us enjoy a little bit more than the other, but when we go to Disney, we're all having fun. I mean, there's no question about it. So
yeah, I'm kind of the same way with you. I've also got a special needs 10-year-old, and mine is 10. I know my kid's age. So I've got a special needs 10-year-old, and he's on the spectrum, and he has been born and raised Disney. He's from the get-go. He's been to Disneyland, I think, 3 times. He's been to Disney World probably 7 or 8 times, more times than most people in their lives will go. With Zach, is there one ride in particular he just absolutely loves? He just can't wait to get on that ride, talks about it all the time?
You ask him what his favorite ride is, it's usually going to be Peter Pan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now it might change some in the parks, but that's usually, if you really say what's your favorite, it's going to be Peter Pan, and that's the one he really wants to get to. But he'll do all of them. He loves the roller coasters. He won't do anything with the shoulders coming down. We tried to do Rock and Roller Coaster last time, and he kept slipping his arm out from underneath, so we had to stop the ride and get him off, because I'm like, no, we're not doing this without him secured properly. I really want him to figure that out, because he would love it. So
yeah, I can't imagine that as a parent looking over going, oh, my kid's crawling out of the ride that's going 64 miles an hour on an upside down track. That's awesome. My kid's Slinky Dog Dash. That's my kid's goal, Slinky Dog Dash. Not only does he love it, when we're off the ride, he jumps out of that car and immediately runs over to that little railway there where you can watch it, and he'll look at me, and I have to do that, like, hang on. Here we go. I have to do that for him, and he's just obsessed with it. So
I love that.
Nikki, let's turn to you now. Disney. Why Disney for you, for your family? Why do you want people to experience Disney overall?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see the map behind me. That's original 1972 Disney hand-drawn map. Yeah, my parents were the kind of people we never knew. We would wake up or we'd come home from school, get in the car, we're going somewhere. Might be across the country, but more often than not, Disney World. And I am the oldest one, I think, in our agency. So I've been going to Disney since I was 5 weeks old.
Wow.
That was my very first trip, and I don't know, probably been hundreds of times over the years with my family. So I say my parents broke me, and in turn I've broken my children. And so Disney is just that, that great place. I also have a child with special needs, and there is nothing like a Disney vacation as far as taking care of kids, and really adults of all ages too, with special needs. So, and for mine, it's the train at Magic Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
And we haven't been since, well, he hasn't, obviously I have, but he's refusing to go until the train's back up. So
yeah, it's approaching 1,300 days since it's been open. We've been kind of keeping a number track, and
I bet you guys have.
Yeah, it's a little, it's sad. It really is. My kid loves the train too, so I get that. Yeah. So
Zach was pretty upset on our last trip that we didn't get to ride the train.
Same. So. Campbell was the same thing. He would stand at the train station, like the where the rope is, where you can't go up, and try to crawl up the steps. I'm like, it's closed. You can't. And he's like, train. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, kid. I'm sorry. I just, let's go play at Casey's Jr. Let's go do that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
The water area. So, Kyla, since you're taking a drink down your mouth full of coffee, for you, same question. Disney. Why Disney? What is the appeal for the family, for the kids, for you? Why?
Well, to touch on what Val said, we traveled a lot growing up, and I was a total Disney kid. Like, I remember the nostalgia of like Sunday night Disney movies with like Michael Eisner introducing it, and like Little Tinkerbell doing the pixie dust. So every time I hear that music, I'm like, it's just still like the kid in me. So when the girls watch movies, I'm like, oh my God, like it's that music. And it's just like that feeling of like nostalgia and like how sentimental it is, that it was like a special trip for my family growing up. Like we traveled all the time, but Disney was every 5 years. So it was a special trip. So I just always like so looked forward to those trips. And then with the girls, like we started pretty early, and they just never, it's just like something that you don't get tired of. It's a bubble. It's like our safe space. It's an escape. Like, it's just like, you can be a kid and nobody cares. Everybody has something Disney on. It's hilarious. Like, it's just like everything about it. Like the castle, the rides, the food, everything. Like that's why we keep going back, because it's just like a fun trip every time. And it's just like, just an escape, like for lack of a better term. It's just like a great vacation in a bubble, in the Disney bubble.
Bubble is a good word for it. And I use that too with bubble, because people ask me, why should they stay on property? Why not stay off property at at the La Quinta in Kissimmee? I'm like, well, first of all, it's La Quinta.
It's not the same experience.
But even Disney Springs hotels, it's right there in the Disney bubble, but not quite in the Disney bubble.
On the edge.
It's just something about having those buses that aren't really even Disney personal, which now Magical Express is gone, so that's a whole other show. But my wife says the same thing. She and this is back before everybody had to use their phones for everything when you're in the parks. But she would tell me, she's like, I don't want you watching the news. I don't want you watching the sports. I don't want you watching anything. I want you here focused on Disney bubble stuff. You can deal with all that. And, of course, I'm slipping on my phone. I'm like, just checking the news real quick, just looking, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, so-and-so got reelected. I mean, just it's, so-and-so, there's going on, whatever. And she's like, stop it. But yeah, Disney bubble is a real thing. It's something to spend a week and you don't see a billboard for anything. You don't see a McDonald's sign. Well, you might see one McDonald's sign, but you don't see the outside world. There's no bail bondsman. There's no billboards. There's no Coffee Kettle, Waffle House, whatever, IHOP. And I mean, there's nothing there other than just Disney magic, which is great. So that's going to kind of transition us into what we're kind of talking about today is Disney cruises and Disney trips, why you want to package the two of them together, why it's a great idea to do both on one trip, and even if you can. Now, this is an interesting panel because as we come to find out, Val has never been on a cruise. She hasn't had a chance to, and as you've said that you're trying to, you just haven't had a chance to yet. Kyla went on one in 2018. Which ship did you go on, Kyla?
Fantasy.
Okay. Was it a 3-day, 7-night, 10-day?
7 nights.
7-night. Okay. To where?
So we did the Disney Fantasy out of Port Canaveral. we stopped at Disney's Private Island Castaway Cay. We did St. Martin and we did St. Thomas. So that was our first family cruise. And my husband was like, let's just go for it. Let's do 7 nights. So that's what we booked. And it was great. It was a different experience because our littlest had just turned 1 and our older one was 4. So it was a different experience.
Was that your first Disney cruise? Had you gone on previous cruises, or was that it?
That was our first Disney cruise. Frank and I had done Royal Caribbean before, but if I had the chance, like when I have the chance to do it again, we're going to do Disney cruise because I just felt like, obviously, like the magic of Disney is just translated from the Walt Disney World into the cruise. Generally we are land people, or I am anyway. I think cruises are a great idea to see places we wouldn't have gone to otherwise. So like going on this Disney cruise and having St. Thomas and St. Martin part of the itinerary, like I can't wait to get back to St. Thomas one day because it was amazing. And we did an awesome excursion, even with the kids being that little. So it was so much fun. And like our 4-year-old at the time went to the kids club for a couple hours every day. What's amazing is that Disney keeps the staff on their cruise line kids clubs the same throughout your cruise. They do not change jobs on the ship at all. So you're always going to have that same staff, which I think gives people a sense of like safety and security. There's also double gates to get into the kids club, and you have to like tap to get in. They also give you wave phones. So if they need to contact you, you have a phone, they have a phone, it's not your cell phone. So that all like made us feel much better about like sending our little 4-year-old who she wanted to go into the kids club, but off to play with Tinkerbell or off to cook or play in like their Star Wars section. And then our little one at the time, she's still a mama's girl, but she was very much a mama's girl at 1. And although there's a nursery, we tried, she was not having it at the time, but it's adorable in there. And other children seem to be having a great time. So those were all great options. And then there's kids clubs for tweens and teens too. Right. So they really like cover all ages.
I was thinking about that, and I was just thinking, I can't wait to hear the stories from you whenever your girls are old enough that mom and dad aren't cool anymore, and they're hanging out at Vibe and Edge, and you're like, y'all need to come down for dinner, and they're like, no, mom.
I mean, I think we're there almost like right now, because we're talking about doing a Disney cruise actually next summer, maybe like a Europe itinerary or something like that, just to like switch it up a little bit.
Cool.
And both of the girls at the time will be old enough to be in the kids club together. And I don't know if they're going to want to like leave. Like they love kids clubs anyway when we travel, and then like to be together on it and be able to be together. And yeah, I don't think they're gonna want to like actually care about dinner, but that's fine.
Mom, you're embarrassing me. Stop.
Yes,
Stop
exactly.
calling me.
And there's like an adults only part of the ship that like I didn't get to. I sent Frank off to it, but like I didn't get to experience like a whole lot of that. And I'm thinking like next time I will be able to do that.
You're gonna get like 30 feet from the entrance to the club, and she's gonna make you stop and go, I'll take it from here, Mom. You go away. Don't walk me to the door. You're fine. I'll meet you on the corner. I don't want my friends to see me there with you, Mom.
That's exactly what it's going to be, especially for my older one.
But it'll be exciting for your husband, though, because he'll get to embarrass your daughters, that's what dads do. That's what dads are going to do. So, Nikki, your cruising history, you have an interesting little cruising history. You've gone on a couple of cruises, one greater than the other. And so talk a little bit about your cruising history overall, last Disney cruise and such.
Yeah. I tell my clients, especially those that are first-time cruisers that want to sail Disney, I'm like, you're going to love it, but it's going to spoil you. Because once you sail Disney, those other lines, they really don't compare. I mean, they're fine. They have good offerings. There's nothing like Disney magic. And I just can't say enough about all that they offer. And a couple of things. One, Kyla, so you know, last Disney cruise, we were on the Dream. We just did a 3-night Bahamian, so nothing too exciting. But Elijah, my son with some special needs, he was 15 at the time, does not make friends easily. And we couldn't get him out of Vibe, which was crazy.
That's awesome. And
we were on the elevator the morning that, we were debarking, and this guy gets on, and my son is just chatting with him and talking to him. And I'm like, what is happening? I just got all teary-eyed because leave it to Disney to help my son who struggles with making friends, have this guy that he still to this day will text with or
That
message.
is so great.
And so,
Awesome.
and then Ellis was 10. So of course she loved the kids club. We let her sign herself in and out. She wasn't going anywhere. And so that was our rule at dinner. You must come to our room to change for dinner. And you may not leave the table, no matter how.
Fine, Mom. God.
Yeah, you cannot leave the table until you've thanked our waiters, because yes, they are the same people every night. And so there were definitely a lot of nights where, they're racing through the dinner and then like, where's our waiter? Because I required a proper thank you, a handshake.
Right.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow kind of thing. So that was our rule there. For the kids, and they did have such a great time and loved being on their own. But I'll tell you one story about Disney Magic that I honestly cannot imagine any other cruise line doing. So now we know I had a medication allergy. We didn't know that at the time. And I was taking this medication quite regularly throughout our cruise. And as each hour would go by, I would get more and more sick. And we just didn't know why. The seas weren't rough. It wasn't like, motion sickness, but I was really to the point of being incapacitated. And so one of the nights, Jason, my husband, is half dragging me to our cabin. And he's telling our daughter, who again is 10, hey, honey, look, we'll watch a fun movie in the room. We'll order some milk and cookies. He's just really trying to encourage her because I was so sick. I couldn't be left alone. And about that time, our cabin steward, she came out and she put her arm around me and she turned around to my husband and she said, you two go have a blast. I got this. And she helped me into the cabin. She got me a cool wet washcloth. She ordered me frozen grapes because she's like, that will help you more than anything. And she just checked in on me regularly through the night so that I wasn't alone. And so my husband and kid could go really enjoy.
That's amazing.
Everything. And I'm telling you, as much as the other cruise lines offer, nobody offers that but Disney. And she didn't have to do it. And I can't say that it's going to happen on every cruise, but it made a huge difference for our family. Made my life better and certainly made theirs better.
I love that. So my experience really, 2004, when on my honeymoon, whenever I got married, I married a woman who was grown up Disney, and I had smatterings of Disney all along. My first experience at Disney Park was in 1982. They were still building Epcot. I was 7, and I actually thought the entire park was in that ball. I was like, that's really cool, an entire theme park in a ball, because to me at 7, that thing was massive. And so now I'm going, how did I think that entire park was in that? I was such a stupid kid, but back then it made sense. I was 7,
No, you know what? Because I thought Body Wars, we were actually going into a body. So we all have our things.
That's true, and you were 34 at the time when you thought that, so that's kind of weird. But anyway, so yeah, I went back a couple times in college, like day trips here and there. So I decided to take Stephanie, my wife, on our honeymoon to go to Disney World, and I'm like, I went to a brick and mortar travel agency. I had no idea how to set up a travel trip. I had no clue. So we stayed at Caribbean Beach, and I went on whatever the travel agent told us to do. I'm like, I'll do that. This is well before the dining plan even started. This was in 2004. My first table service experience at a Disney restaurant ever was Cinderella's Castle on the morning of February 29th, 2004. We had breakfast there. And of course we're exhausted because we didn't get in until like really late the night before. We got up early, whatever. And so it was awesome. It was great. And so we stayed at the parks for 4 days, went to each park. I'd never been to Animal Kingdom, Hollywood, never been to Epcot. And I was like, there's the big ball and there's the rest of the park. Look at this. This is really cool. And then we went on a Disney cruise. I had been on one cruise before. And this was my senior year in high school, 1993. Come to find out, this was a Disney cruise before there were Disney cruises, because apparently they partnered with cruise lines to do the Big Red Boat.
Big Red Boat.
I only know this because I was digging through a pile of stuff in my room trying to clean some stuff out, and I found like my memory book from high school with all of my cruise stuff in it, including an itinerary from Oceanic Cruise Lines, Disney Cruise Line, the Big Red Boat. And I was like, I went on a Disney cruise when I was 17, and I had no idea. Don't remember anything about the cruise. Long time ago, but yeah. So we went on the Disney cruise. We went on the Wonder. It was 3 nights, and it was amazing. It was so great. We had inside stateroom, and by the way, those rooms with no portholes are pitch black. And so so we woke up like 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and I'm like, what time is it? It's 9. There's no light in here whatsoever. It is because there's no light coming into the room at all. But it was an amazing cruise. It was an amazing time. And so we've done the Land and Sea package. This is back then when you actually could book the packages together. You don't do that anymore. You have to book them separately, which is not really that big of a deal. You just pay deposit on one, pay deposit on the other. They're independent of each other. We recommend insurance, so we can help you actually, as agents, get insurance for the entire thing as a whole versus insurance for this and insurance for that. We can also help you traveling from this to, one destination to the other. We can talk about all that later when we're talking to our clients and stuff. But so the next question for you guys is simply, why would you want to do a Land and Sea? You get to Orlando, you're going to Disney World, this is exciting. Why would I not want to be here for 7 days? Or why would I not want to be on a cruise for 7 days? And maybe you would do 14 days for both. Most families don't do 14-day trips. Most families have a week. They have 6, 7, 8 days. What is the appeal of doing both components in one single vacation?
As the person who hasn't cruised yet and really wants to get a cruise scheduled at some point, we're working on it. I wouldn't want to miss out on the Disney part too. You know what I mean? You just want to do it all. And and why not kind of have a landing spot to kind of get settled for a couple days and then, head out. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'd want to do everything.
Kyla?
I agree. I can't go to Orlando without going to Disney World. I just feel like I'm cheating on Disney World if I don't go, if I'm in Orlando. But I think and I've had clients do it both ways, like go to Disney first for a little bit, then a cruise, or to kind of relax after Disney. Or we did it the other way around, where we did Disney for a couple days after the cruise. So I think it just depends on the family and what vibe they're looking for Disney World and the cruise. But I think, again, I just can't go without going to World.
No, I find my clients are very either in one camp or the other. Either they have to do cruise first or they have to do World first. But if I get very few, what should we do? Usually they know what they want. And we did the Land and Sea the last time, and it was great because we got to say Polynesian concierge before we got on the boat, and it was or ship, because I've been corrected. One of my clients is a vice admiral, and he corrects me every time.
Impressive.
He's so funny. But yeah, so I enjoy personally. I like to do the World part first and the cruise after because I like the relaxation.
Yeah, that would be the appeal for me too. I went on I love what you said about cheating on Disney, Kyla, because I went on a Disney, I had a conference down there, but they didn't provide tickets, so I didn't have tickets to Disney World. I stayed at Pop Century, and I would get off on the bus stop or whatever, or the monorail or whatever, and I would walk by the Magic Kingdom, going to Contemporary, which is where the event was, and I'm like, I can't get in the Magic Kingdom, but there it is. And I actually had scheduled, because I had not been to Universal in 20 years at that time, so I scheduled 2 days at Universal. So I'm leaving Pop to go to Universal, and it was weird because I felt like I was cheating on Disney. I'm staying on Disney property, going to Universal, not going to Disney at all. So there is that sense of when I'm in Orlando, I'm like, why would I not go to Disney World for a couple of days if I'm in Orlando? No matter what I'm doing, even if I'm in a conference completely off property, I'm like, I will find a way over there, even if it's just the Springs. So doing a component of both is you get your familiar Disney World part in. You get that in. You quench that thirst of Slinky Dog Dash and Space Mountain and the churros and the Dole Whips or whatever, but you also get to add on a component that maybe you're not that familiar with, like me. Again, I haven't been in almost 20 years. I would get to do a cruise on the end. It's kind of the best of both worlds. And for me, I would want to do World first and go and get completely exhausted and then get on the boat and sit poolside with a fruity drink or something, relaxing for a little while, because I don't know. I don't know why you would want to do the ship first, be all relaxed and happy, and I just go on the cruise and it was great. Okay, let's get up at 6 a.m. to get ready for Animal Kingdom. I can't imagine that. So do you guys have preferences? World versus cruises second, vice versa? Kyla, I know you said you did the ship first and then World. How was that? Would you change that next time?
No, I would do it the exact same way, actually.
And why is
Because
that?
I just like, I am a Disney World person, love the
Okay.
Disney cruise. We're going to do it again. But there's just something about Disney World going into like the whole magic behind it and everything. Like I initially said that I like so look forward to going to it. And it's different than the cruise, like obviously. But you know, like the cruise to me is just like, it is relaxing. And then you know, we just take our prior scheduled transfer back to Disney World. And then we did the park for like a day or two. But I am like a Disney World fan through and through. So I will always do the cruise first and then Disney after to like look forward to it. It sounds weird because I should look forward to the cruise as well, which I do, but like Disney World is just like, you know.
Nikki, do you agree with Kyla, or are you correct?
I am opposite because I hate leaving Disney World. Like I hate it to my core. It doesn't matter. I've been 1,000 times. I still cry when I leave. So when I get off of the ship, and we always drive. So when I get off the ship and we're back on the highway, I don't have to see it again. Like I couldn't go back and stay a post night. That wouldn't work for me. But
the cruise is like the salve for the wound. You just rip the band off. It's like the little massage on your arm there, that little part that stings. You're massaging the arm with the cruise. You know, I get it.
Exactly.
So makes sense. Val, do you have a preference? When you're going to your first one, if you have a preference of either setting it up either way, which one are you doing?
I would probably do Disney World first and then the cruise. I kind of feel like you. I want to relax on the cruise and just
Kyla,
chill out.
there is no wrong answer to that. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm odd man out. It's okay. It happens.
So no, I think just for me personally, honestly, I would do it both ways if given the chance. If somebody said, you have to do the cruise first, then World. Okay, I guess I'll just suck it up and go do whatever.
Twist my arm.
Exactly, twist my arm. I guess that'd be fine. But yeah, I'm hoping to have that experience very soon to be able to go on both. And I like the idea too, especially for a family who's maybe never been on a cruise. Starting out with Disney is almost like starting out one of your first meals as like a big steak, because the other cruises are just a good burger somewhere, and you have good burgers and bad burgers. And this is not to diminish other cruise lines, because there are great cruise lines out there. But as I think Nikki said, there's something about Disney that just propels it to another level. And the quality of service on Disney Cruise Line is so top notch, beyond the Disney World, beyond the parks. I mean, what they do on the cruises and the staff they have trained, and as somebody as a special needs parent, I have to be careful where I take my kid. I have to scope the place out, and kids with special needs. Kyla, you have typical children. You have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. You're a mom. You do know this too. You have to scope a place out. You have to know what's going on. You have to figure out, okay, can I trust this place? Where are the exits? Where are the entrances? What am I doing? I would have no qualms about putting my kid on a Disney Cruise special needs program, because they have special needs areas for this. I would have a qualm versus there are some other cruises I would be like, okay, so let me ask a bunch of questions here. What about this? I need to see that. Can you show me some literature? I need to look this up. I need to research. I'm going to YouTube watching videos. At Disney, I'd be like, here, take him. See you at 5. Have fun. I mean, I wouldn't have any thoughts about it. And of course, like any parent, I love my child and I want my child to be safe, but that's how much stock I put into Disney Cruises. I wouldn't have any qualms about whatever room I was in. Obviously, I want balcony. I want a view, but I would probably rather do an inside stateroom on a Disney cruise versus a balcony room on a different cruise line, because it's a Disney cruise line. And
those portholes, the portholes are
those weren't there whenever I went. Now they have the magic portholes where you can see like the video screen and stuff of like there's Goofy swimming by. That's what I want to see at 4 in the morning. And I'm like, oh look, there's Mickey, which you can turn them off. I know, but why would you do that? And so
no, you need the magic on all the time.
Exactly, have it on all the time. That blue light going on in your room, trying to sleep. Otherwise, the room is pitch black. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can all get on those cruises and stuff. So if you're out there and you're looking for a Disney cruise and a world vacation, and maybe you have never even thought about how to put these two together, you're like, you know what? That sounds like a good idea. Number one, all 4 of us would love to do 7 days at Disney World for you and 7 days on a cruise. No problem. We're happy to make that happen for you. But some people can't do that. A lot of people can't do 14 days. So, 3 or 4 days in one, 3 or 4 days in the other. I think that would be a fantastic idea, and all of us have that put together. So, What would you give? I'm going to go to you, Kyla, first. What advice would you give to a client who's calling you saying, you know what, we've never cruised, we've been to Disney World some, we want to do both. What do we need to think about? What do we need to do? What would you tell your clients if they came to you with that information?
I've had a number of clients actually come to me recently with those questions, and they've booked 4 nights to dip their toes in. Just which is like, I feel like if you haven't traveled in a few years, then that's a good amount of time to get away and feel like you're away and relaxed. The other thing is that they know that we set everything up for them. So I tell all my clients, fly in the day before, because you do not want to miss that trip.
Yep.
You're gonna also miss out on a lot of money if you do that. So get the travel insurance, fly in the day before. We set up your transfer, like stay at Walt Disney World, you get the transfer over to the cruise port, then you can get the transfer back to the airport or back to Disney. See, back to Disney World.
There you go.
So, you know, like, so we set it all up for them. And I think that makes people feel like secure, like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They have like great ideas. And they're going along with it. They're booking, like they're booking these cruises, they're booking the transfers, the travel insurance. And I think people are excited about that when all like the little things that they feel like they need to think about are just taken care of already.
Right. Nikki, what would you tell your clients that came to you and said, you know, we've been to World, we like World, we want to do World for a few days, but we kind of like to do a cruise. How would you advise them to proceed? How would you help them in that manner?
Yeah, well, if they want to do the land and sea again, I'm always able to help with that. I think that the best part about working with the travel agent is we ask the right questions. We dig a little deeper to find out, are you going to be happier cruising before, cruising after? If you do have children that are not neurotypical, we've been there, we've done this, we know what to help you with. And so I agree with Kyla. We haven't traveled in a couple of years for most of us. And that 3 or 4 night cruise for Disney is great introduction if you've never sailed before, but also a good way to kind of ease back in. So yeah, that's what I would be offering.
Naval, you and I are kind of in the same boat, pardon the pun intended. You know, you've never been, and I haven't been in 20 years, so it's almost like I've never been either. I can show you pictures and I can tell you some things that happened, but the world has changed so much and the ships have changed so much. There's a friggin' water slide on the ship now that my kid would absolutely spend all of his time on, by the way, the aqueduct. And so for you, how do you advise your clients, having not been maybe on a cruise, like how would you advise your clients to proceed with you?
Right. Well, I mean, I think everything that Kyla and Nikki said is all great, and certainly things that I would share as well. As a person who's looking to go on a cruise the first time, I think I would advise my clients like me. I mean, I love the idea of a 3 or 4 night cruise to get your feel for it. I mean, especially having never cruised. I mean, make sure you like cruising, you know what I mean, before you put yourself on a 7 or 4 day. Because there are people out there that don't like to cruise, that get sick, that, you know, can't handle it. Like, I want to know before I, you know, I'm stuck on a ship for a week that I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be fun for my whole family. You know, I don't want to be stuck with a kid who's seasick for a week either. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think always dipping your toes in a little bit first is smart. And, you know, because it's not like you can't ever go back. So. Well,
and I will say that I like the Kyla method of cruise first, world second for a lot of clients, because especially if they've never been on a cruise, let them go on the cruise, dip their toe in the water, the proverbial water, just not really on the boat because that's a long way down. But, you know, dip their toe in that cruising water first, let them get familiar with the cruise, and then they go to World, which was where they know. So it's almost like, okay, stranger in a strange land, this cruise is awesome. Now we're going to go to World, which is where I'm familiar, and now I'm comfortable. I'm back in my comfort zone again. You know, so I think there is something to be said for that. I mean, Kyla's probably wrong on that, but still, there's something to be said for that. The last thing we'll touch on before we close is we talked about this just a second ago, and it's important for the people to know out there that we don't work for Disney World. We don't work for the Disney company. We work with them. A lot of our business, most of our business, I think for all of us, is Disney oriented, be it cruises, Adventures by Disney, Disney World, Disneyland, and such. So I don't feel bad in saying that you don't always have to get the Disney insurance when it comes to all of this. And this is just me, and you guys can kind of chime in here if you disagree or have other methods. For Disney World, people ask me all the time, do I need the insurance? we're not really legally supposed to tell you get it or don't get it, because insurance is a family decision that you need to make on for your own. We'll give you all the information. Call the insurance company, ask those questions. Don't ask me for coverage questions, because I don't want to tell you something wrong or tell you something that you'll misinterpret and things happen and you're like, why didn't you say blah, blah, blah? And I'll be like, I don't know. But I don't, for our family, we don't really get the travel insurance just for Disney World. It's just something we never do. Cruises, we always get the insurance. Every cruise. And I will tell every client, if you're going to go on this cruise, it's not mandatory, but please consider this more than anything else. Consider doing the insurance. And if you're doing both, of course, like I said, they're different components. We can help you set up an insurance policy that would cover both. That would cover one thing overall. So you're not like, well, this happened in the world and it kind of carried over into the ship. Okay, well, now I got a policy here and a policy here. What do I do? No, we'll help you cover all of that. So I'm guessing would you guys agree that insurance is massively important when it comes to this stuff?
100%.
Yep. We always do travel insurance for every trip, just with
even
our
for the
family
world,
members.
even for
We
world. You
do,
mean?
yeah,
Okay.
just with I mean, I touched on the fact that Zach has Down syndrome, but my
Yeah,
oldest
that's
kiddo
true.
has OI, which is brittle bones. So like,
Wow,
we
okay.
never know what's going to happen with him. I
Mhm.
mean, yesterday we thought he broke his leg, so I mean,
Right.
I just like, we need to have that security that if something happens at the last minute and we have to change plans, we
Yeah.
have it. And so we've never had to use it, thank goodness, but I just feel better knowing it's there. Otherwise I would worry. So
Yeah, I've had clients have to cancel literally hours before they got on the plane for both world and for cruises. And you don't know what's going to come up, especially in these times.
Especially now. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. So,
I feel like I look at, oh, sorry. I was
go ahead.
just gonna say, I feel like I look at cruise travel insurance specifically, like I look at the passport for cruises, like it's not
Oh, yeah.
mandatory,
yes.
especially for closed loop, but like you should just do it. You should just bring your passport. You should just get the travel insurance,
Right.
because it's just going to protect you in the long run if anything were to happen.
You used a term there I want you to define for the audience in case they don't know. Closed loop. What does that mean?
Oh, the closed loop cruises are the cruises that begin and end in the same domestic port.
Yes, very true. Very cool. Passports, highly important. Get your passport. Do it. Next, I think middle of next year, unless they move it out again, which the government might, but next year is the Star ID comes into play for a lot of states, if not federally. And you're going to have this information anyway, so it's a good time to go ahead and get your passport. Somebody I was working with a client, and they don't have passports. They're looking at going all-inclusive, on a cruise, on a closed-loop cruise this summer. And they were like, well, do we need passports? I'm like, well, you don't need them to cruise. But let's just say something happened even on the boat. There was an injury to one of your kids or whatever, and they had to be taken off the boat to go to a quick hospital. They're fine. Everything's good. It's great. The boat left, and you're there. Now you have to either go to the embassy or find a plane ride home. And I've never been to an embassy. I've only seen them in movies, and usually when you see an embassy in the movies, there's a war going on. I can't tell you that there will be a war going on in Jamaica or in St. Kitts, but at the same time, you don't want to chance anything because, I mean, it's good to have. I mean, just have them, just get them, whatever. You may want to go ahead and have it, so that way you're ready to travel at a moment's notice. So passports very, very important. Insurance very important. So, any final thoughts? Land and sea packages. I'll throw it out to the audience, to you guys, to chime in with anything extra you want to throw out there. Just something to think about, or opinions, thoughts, whatever.
Yeah, so speaking of the closed loop cruises, any cruises that originate in Puerto Rico, you do have to have a passport, even though it's U.S. territory. So a lot of my clients are unfamiliar with that. So
what about cruises overseas, like ones that leave from Barcelona and leave from? I mean, I guess you have to have them there. Okay. Well, I guess they'd have to have a passport to get there, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Too. Duh.
For sure.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're going to kind of close things down here. I'm going to turn to you, Val, first. Where can people find you? Well, overall, anybody can email info@uponastartravel.com or go to uponastartravel.com. See all of us there if you go under travel agent or whatever. If you're just like, give me somebody, that's great. But Val, if they're like, hey, I identify with Val. I've never been on a cruise either. I want to talk to her. How do we find you?
I'm at Upon a Star Valerie on both Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And of course, for people watching, in the corner here where our names are, you can see our email addresses are all right there for everybody. So you can just copy those down if you need to email us. Nikki, where can people find you, follow you, and all your great adventures?
So pixienikki.com, PIXIENIKKI.com is my website, and that's the best way to reach me.
Very cool. Kyla, what about you?
Facebook, I am Kyla Melberg, travel agent at Upon a Star Travel and Concierge. And Instagram, I am at Disney Geek 27.
You mentioned before that you thought about changing that. Don't ever change that.
Don't ever change that.
Yeah, that's don't change it. That's who you are.
When this batch of business cards runs out with my current handle on it, I'm going to assess the name.
I know you want to be flexible with that, but don't. Just keep it as is. You can find me online. I am on Instagram, and here's my spiel. By the way, I'm on Instagram at the Magic on a Dollar. Find me on Facebook, Magic on a Dollar, and Disney on a Dollar. Yes, I have a business page and a Disney fan page. Of course, I have a podcast called the Main Street Electrical Podcast. It's a Disney podcast we do with our agency owner, Jen. She and I get together every Thursday and talk about stuff there as well. So thank you, ladies, for joining me here. This has been a great conversation. I hope you guys got something out of this as well. Find us again, info@uponastartravel.com or uponastartravel.com or Upon a Star Travel. Put the @ there, and you'll have that on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram and all those type places. So thank you very much for joining us, and you guys have a magical day. We'll see y'all real soon.